Say it. Say it!
Hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the bonus round, and this is the first bonus round of October 2020, which means it is a spooktacular bonus round.
It is spooktacular. It's full of
and
ghosts.
There's going to be some ghouls, some ghosts, some spooky specters.
Oh my god, what was that? Did you hear that?
It was the ghost of the beeping in the background.
It was the ghost of the lost episode, which remains lost. You can hear the demonic
update.
You can hear the demonic microphone peaking.
And if you listen close enough, you can hear the lost audio. It's very crunchy. You can barely hear it.
You have to invert the audio and then play it backwards at 1/2 speed and mute the main part of the audio, and then run it through a audio graph. And then the picture will spit like the audio actually spells out all the words of that lost episode.
Now that's fucked.
Yeah. Good luck.
So today's special spooky bonus round is of course horror themed, as it should be, since it is Spooktober. And today we will be discussing scary moments in games, but not all necessarily horror games. I thought we could challenge ourselves to find some moments in games that weren't survival horror games that genuinely freak the shit out of us, because games can be stressful.
Yeah.
Playing games can put you a little bit on edge, and then you might be caught off guard by something that pops out of nowhere.
I think,
or a game tricking you intentionally into thinking something has happened when it hasn't really, stuff like that. Because there's plenty of games that fuck around with the audience, and I like games that are ambitious enough and ballsy enough to do that.
I think one of the earliest...
And then some games that just have spooky moments.
Yeah. I think one of the earliest ones that I can remember as a young'un that I was actually effectively scared in a video game was the Sonic drowning theme.
Oh, that's a great place to start.
I think is a really good, not actually scary game, but very scary thing, to the point where, it still induces anxiety into most people today.
Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is honestly, it's a game that, because it's developed by Sega, has a lot of very arcadey sensibilities to it, including, weird / maybe even cheap and unfair deaths and traps.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest zones that is full of that is the Labyrinth Zone, which everybody hates.
Yeah.
I've never met a single person that likes playing through the Labyrinth Zone.
No.
And the worst part is, it's the 4th zone in the whole game out of
But isn't
6?
it also the one with the easy skip glitch?
I
believe that's...
Maybe. I've never heard of
remember.
that, but if that's the case, either way, how is a little kid supposed to know about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Shit?
That that's the other thing too, is no. You're going to drown
But,
multiple times.
Amongst all the areas in the game, Marble Zone's pretty fucked up because they suddenly hit you with that lava wall out of nowhere that chases you through the end of the zone, and that's fucked. But I think the Labyrinth Zone, just in general, by design, is meant to stress the player out, because it's an underwater maze, and Sonic can't breathe underwater, so you gotta keep finding those air bubbles to replenish your oxygen,
And if you don't,
or else you fucking
fuck
die.
Terrible song plays.
That stressful ass fucking music plays, and holy shit, and you're fucking dead.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, Sonic is a hard enough game as it is, so to have a very cheap death trap like that in the game, and a whole zone built around it nonetheless, is very stressful for a young gamer.
The level designer was having a bad day that day and said, fuck these children or young adults.
And it honestly has made me kind of weary of any water stage in any Sonic game going further, because even in Sonic Mania, when I got to Hydro City Zone, that was stressing me the fuck out.
And
I just totally lose my nerve. Or also Chemical Plant, and
Chemical Plant.
When you get to that part in Chemical Plant with the stressful moving blocks under the poison water.
Yeah, if you fuck that up once, you're basically dead.
Yeah, you cannot afford to fuck that up. You have to be so precise. And then there's the the area in Tidal Tempest in Sonic CD that's like that too.
Yeah,
Where
and
it's just
I
like
mean,
there's a part where it's just difficult to navigate.
Sonic CD
and unless
also
you know
has that
exactly what the fuck
sound
you're
menu
doing.
that is also just terrifying.
Oh yeah. The sound test menu, and if you put in the oh well, you know what else? Another thing about Sonic CD. You know, speaking of scary Sonic games, Sonic CD, the American version of
I
Sonic
love
CD.
that we're talking about Sonic games for our first spooky
Well,
episode.
let's be honest. What's scarier than Sonic?
Uh
The Sonic fandom.
oh, a new Sonic game announcement.
That does fill me with existential dread. That's true, but that's a different kind of scare.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something about the American Sonic CD soundtrack which I really like. There's a mixed feelings in the fandom about the American soundtrack. Personally, I like it, though. I think in time, just because I grew up with it, it stuck with me. But I have listened to the Japanese soundtrack, and that is like maybe objectively better in many ways. But there are parts of the American Sonic CD soundtrack that are fucked, including the boss theme, which is this dastardly evil fucking sound that is just like Dr. Robotnik laughing in the background with like this harsh mechanical cacophony. And it's really like, it's stressful and scary. And even though the boss fights in that game are not particularly difficult, the fact that each boss stage is like in like the bad future
Yeah.
areas of the game where like everything is all fucked up and roboticized and weird and freaky and evil.
Horrible.
To have that shitty, evil, horrible music in the background is just, it fucks you up. It makes the atmosphere feel really fucked and dire.
Yeah.
So that always freaked me out as a kid a lot.
And like I think
actually.
that's a strong point for a lot of the games too, is like sometimes the game isn't necessarily scary, but the atmosphere that a certain level will bring is just like, oh god.
Well, I have a perfect example of that actually. This was one of the many that I was thinking of
Well,
when
we
I
call that a
thought
segue.
about this subject. Here's a very good segue. We're good at this right now.
We're on a roll.
So I've been playing Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux
boy,
because I
yeah.
just rebought it, and experiencing that game over again, I'm reminded of what it was like playing it for the first time, because now I'm kind of prepared for a lot of the early game scares that I remember very vividly. But there's a moment early on in the game which doesn't really freak me out so much now, but when I was 16 playing this game for the first time, going into the series honestly completely blind, I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was dark, I knew there were demons, and I knew like, oh, it's the same series that Persona's from, so I
Yeah.
recognize all the demons and shit. But what I didn't understand was how much more intense the SMT games are, not just from a difficulty standpoint, but from like a thematic and tonal standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The situation or the scenarios you find yourself in are always very dire and apocalyptic, and these games often do a really good job of making you feel invested in the conflict. Actually, usually because the games themselves are very bare bones kind of dungeon crawlers. Yeah. Usually in the first person, including Strange Journey. But with the limited resources they have at hand, they create such an effectively freaky, demonic atmosphere. And the moment I think that exemplifies this is right at the beginning of Strange Journey. You're exploring an area called Antlia, and Antlia is entirely like an ice cave. It's a big ice cave because where you are, you're technically in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So you go in there and you're like, okay, I'm expecting an ice cave. You're going around and there's demons and it's freaky and the fights are hard because it's SMT.
Yeah, it's fucking SMT.
But the atmosphere is like, I still feel like I'm vaguely in an earthly plane. And then you get to the second floor of Antlia and it's more ice caves. And then you're like, okay, I kind of see where this is going. And then you go through a door. And on the other side of this door is a bombed out European city that's completely ablaze.
Oh.
And it's like you fucking walked into hell.
That's unexpected, actually.
It's totally catches you off guard. You're like, if you have no idea that this is coming, it's freaky. And you got in there and you're like, everything is on fire. The demons here are like 10 times stronger than the ones in the ice caves. And you know, it takes a lot of restraint to not just turn the fuck back and go back to those caves, because they're far less freaky and weird and intimidating then this horrible flaming like apocalypse land.
Yeah, but you have to go through the horrible flaming apocalypse land to progress the story so you can kill God.
Exactly. Multiple gods, in fact.
Well.
But it's a pretty horrific moment. And there's a lot of horrific moments in the game. Another one that comes to mind is in the second area you go to, which is called Bautis. You're stuck in this tower that's controlled by the demon Mithras, and they're performing experiments on a bunch of humans around you, and one by one you see these comrades of yours just get fucking murdered for nothing. Like murdered because they're just being toyed with.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it just goes to show you how little the demons consider human lives valuable, how little these demons in particular consider humans even worth letting live for the sake of an experiment. And the experiments are just, we wrapped our hands around this human's throat and suddenly he turned blue and then died.
Whoops.
I guess humans need oxygen, and that's the experiment. And you're standing there like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Are they gonna hit me with like a difficult battle that I might get my ass handed to me too? And surely enough, they do hit you with a really hard battle.
That's how SMT goes.
Yeah,
if you haven't played SMT
if you
games,
don't make it out of there,
getting your ass kicked for 2 hours, and then beating the boss, and then getting your ass kicked for another 2 hours.
Oh yeah, but just one of many moments in one of my favorite RPGs that just scared the shit out of me as like a teenager experiencing all of this kind of shit for the first time. You know, like I wasn't as desensitized to that level of violence, so it was really like, it was freaky, and it's very cleverly executed, despite, like I said, the very limited resources that the game's team were working with there, with like, especially in that case, the hardware of the Nintendo DS.
Oof.
Which is limited hardware to make an
SM.
No, it was late period.
Oh, was
DS,
it?
I believe.
Strange Journey?
But,
that came after
Strange Journey
4,
is pretty late. No, Strange Journey came before 4, but after Devil Survivor.
Oh, okay.
So
yes. Okay.
It's a later period title for sure. But it certainly was fucked up, and I didn't necessarily know what to expect. So that was interesting. I really do love that game.
Coming off that, I just want to say, Atlas, Shin Megami Tensei in general, number your fucking games.
Yeah,
please.
Strange Journey. When do you play this? It's standalone. Is it?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but
no, because the Shin Megami Tensei universe, everything's canon.
It's crazy.
So figure it out.
That is
fun
a
on those
wild
forums.
ass game. Especially because the Demonica armor shows up in later games, and it's just but that's from Strange Journey.
I can't. Just for Persona, there were so many like nights spent reading crazy, I guess, conspiracy theories about the game. I'm just like,
is that P5?
All the Personas, like 3, 4, all of them, how they connect to everything, and
but those games in general are, I get
Lynchian.
Scary is part of what they do, but like the level of cosmic apocalyptic horror that they engage in feel very unique for JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what makes that series stand out above, say, Final Fantasy or
like it's
Dragon Quest especially, which is like the polar opposite.
Oh yeah, well, Dragon Quest is just boilerplate. Not to say that it's bad, but I mean,
exactly. The whole idea is like, this is European fairy tale ass fantasy.
Here's your spaghetti and meatballs.
Whereas, yes, exactly, and it's good every time.
Yeah, it's amazing every time.
At SMT just being like, anyway, we're gonna torture you for a couple hours. Enjoy how hard this game is.
Here's some risotto, some salmon risotto, but it's locked behind a cage with dogs in it.
Fucking got him. But that's some fucking freaky shit. You got a good one to go off of?
I do, actually. It's going to be somewhat of a divisive one, and I want to state that this does not mean that the game is good inside of its own series, but it does not take away the fact that it scared the shit out of me and was like my funnest horror experience. And actually, you know what? This goes for the next like 2 games I kind of want to talk about. The first one I'm going to talk about is Doom 3.
Oh, okay.
In terms of a Doom game,
now that's the one that takes place on Mars.
I mean, technically they all take place on Mars.
Oh. Wait, is three the one that's kind of a remake of one?
Yeah, three's the one where id Software rebooted it and John Romero had nothing to do with it, and it wasn't a very good Doom game.
So it's the first Doom game that Romero wasn't involved in.
It's not a very good Doom game, but it is a very good action horror game. The scares are pretty effective. I'd
say the Doom series has a lot of horror DNA, and because of the kind of demonic Satan.
But I mean, the thing about Doom, right, and the reason people didn't like 3 is you're supposed to be this crazy badass who just kills everything without question and is just unkillable, or like is just like the biggest badass in the whole world, right? And Doom 3 kind of takes that away, and you're kind of a jobber marine, and like. There's more of a fear element to it, and like you don't feel super badass because you're not moving quick and mowing down a bunch of demons. It's like short waves that are actually
much
scary.
Less of a power fantasy than the other Doom games.
Yeah. So that's why I think it gets shit on a lot. Also, the story's not very good. I remember beating it.
That's the one where it's just like somebody opens a portal to hell on Mars,
God,
right?
It's like a bunch of scientists. So technically you work for UCA, I think is what it's called, and it's the Eurospace, USCA, or I don't know, whatever. Eurospace company.
Basically
agency,
space marines.
Yes, the space marine things. And they're like, we found this portal that we might be able to open. And then they open the portal and the ghosts go into all the people. And they're like, shit. It's basically what happens in Doom 2016.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I mean, I know what happens in that.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I think that's what happens in Doom 1 and 2 too. Is like they were like doing crazy experiments, and it got a little crazy. Yeah, wackiness ensues.
Wacky shenanigans ensue.
But yeah, it's more the fact that like, God, I don't even know how to talk about it. Like, yeah, essentially, like, everyone dies, and then you go through hell, because you have to, because it's a Doom game, so you just go through the hell levels, and then you beat the final demon, who's this big, badass demon, who's very hard, in my recollection. I haven't played the game in years, don't quote me on that.
A big chunker.
Yeah, he's beefy bullet sponge that just won't die, to my recollection, don't quote me on that. He might actually be super easy, I might have just been bad at the video game. But yeah, after that, it just cuts to this scene of a bunch of other space marines coming to the thing and just rescuing you and like saving you.
Wow, damn!
Yeah, because
they don't even
killed
give
everyone
you the
and then you
heroic
just like
exit.
passed out, and then they come and save you and take you away. Like you're basically.
That's pretty fucking anticlimactic.
Yeah, you're basically Ripley.
Say.
Yeah, that's it. It's a wet fart. But everything up to there, atmospherically fart, and like. The sound design is very good. I remember like jump scares and just like having this feeling, because the music and like sound effects would just drone all the time, and at some point it just like gets to you. I was very young too, so like it probably wouldn't be as bad now, but like I remember having to stop sometimes. There's specifically this one part in a hallway where this baby crying sound effect just starts playing. And like I had to mute the TV.
Like that.
Yeah, I had to mute the TV and like unmute it to see if it had finished, and it hadn't. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm done for tonight. I think it's dark o'clock. I don't remember what time it was because I was young, but it was dark, and I was playing with the lights off because obviously you want to be as immersed as possible. And I got too immersed and was like, it's time to stop now because I'm gonna cry. Yeah. So Doom 3, very effective space scary game. Much love for that game, even though it gets a lot of hate. It's just a very like enjoyable romp through Demon Mars.
I feel like I would probably enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand why long-term fans hate it. I totally get it. I don't even disagree with it, because the story is garbage.
Because it doesn't feel like the other Dooms, and how it kind of plays with the audience's expectations for what a Doom game is supposed to be, which is a crazy ass power fantasy where you're mowing demons down like nobody's fucking business.
And yeah, I mean, good game, fun scares, good atmosphere. And continuing with the good atmosphere, if I can bounce off this with my second
please.
game.
Absolutely.
Maybe a little bit controversial because everyone that I talk to seems to not actually like this game all that much, even though I think it's probably one of the best first-person shooters in like a while. Is BioShock 1.
I like BioShock.
Yeah, BioShock 1 is a...
I feel like BioShock 2 and Infinite deserve a lot more ire than the first game. The first game is a really impressive thing.
I mean, BioShock 2 has effectiveness. It's a pretty okay game. Overall,
I think BioShock 1 is as good as System Shock 2.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. BioShock...
and System Shock 2 is fucking amazing, and I hope nobody would argue against that. That's a great game.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would.
It's one of the few first-person shooters I've played all the way through. I love that fucking game. I love System Shock.
I loved BioShock and was so in the poverty that I had just kept playing BioShock that I did a hard run using the wrench only.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Except for the parts where you like can't use the wrench, because if I remember, there's a couple of things where you like literally just can't use the wrench.
Yeah, there are.
Like the boss or something.
I really like
yeah.
BioShock. I think the first BioShock is a really
it's
like a really undebatably good game,
it's
and I don't
honestly
know why
masterfully
people would not
made
like
in
it.
terms of like ambience, just what is happening here.
Like an entirely unique setting, an entirely unique story. Really, really well executed gameplay.
Yeah, and even the twist at the
plasmid
end
system is really
just
great.
like, oh, this is mwah.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not,
the plasmids are awesome.
It's not like, do you get it? It's just kind of like, hey, this is what's happening. It was you.
Is there in any FPS game aesthetically a cooler idea than plasmids?
No. I don't think there is, honestly.
In an FPS game in which you acquire multiple upgrades that allow you to kind of progress through the story, I think plasmids maybe are some of the coolest, most unique weapons in any first person shooter, any at all. They're so good, and there's so many unique ones, and the plasmids in the first BioShock alone are so cool that when you go and play Infinite, and even when you play 2, the new plasmids in 2 are okay.
Yeah, the ones in Infinite
the vigors in Infinite are really cool. The vigors in Infinite are like,
especially the detail on the hands.
I think those are maybe the best in the series, even though I don't actually personally love Infinite very much as a game and think it falters in a lot of key places that it could have easily not. But I definitely think that like that just as a system alone are super cool. But yeah, BioShock has got an amazing atmosphere.
Yes.
It's scary as fuck and tense as hell.
It is, and like my favorite scare from
whenever
game,
you even get near a Big Daddy, holy fuck, do you want to get out? Well,
I mean, that's the thing, right? There's two of my favorite scares in the game, and one of my favorite scares is when you're coming up from the biosphere for the first time, like you're just getting into Rapture, and the God, what are they called? The bad guy, not the Big Daddies, but the
Andrew Ryan?
No. The splicers.
The splicers.
She just fucks up the biosphere while you're in it, and then like leaves you alone and is like, "Come out to play," or like some fucking quippy line like that, and it's just like, "Oh, I don't have any weapons yet. Fuck."
You're throwing me right into this shit, huh?
And then of course there's the Big Daddy reveal where when you come through the bathroom, and there's a splicer like trying to get the little girl, whatever they're called,
the little sister,
the little sisters, and then the Big Daddy comes in and just bodies the dude like it's nothing, and you're like, oh no. I really hope he's my friend.
Literally freaked me the fuck out the first time I ever played it. Like the first time I saw a Big Daddy, I was like, hey!
Yeah,
like I went fucking my knuckles like went white.
Yeah,
because I was not. Firstly, they catch you totally off guard, which is what a good scare should do. Is catch the audience off guard.
Yeah, like the first time you see that, it's just like, oh, what the... It's the thing from the trailer.
You're like, how do I handle this shit?
Yeah.
I do not know how to fight these things. And they're persistently scary throughout most of the game.
Yeah, depending how you play the game. You can be pretty chill and not really have to fight that many. I think there's two that are obligatory.
And ideally, you don't want to fight more than you have to.
Oh man, they are
Because
sponges.
They
really hate fire.
They really
though.
and truly are.
They really hate fire.
Underwater, they're sponges.
It's just SpongeBob. That's what he does.
It's just
After the Krusty Krab
Rapture is
down.
Bikini Bottom. I can't believe it.
Oh,
We solved the cartoon theory, everybody.
We did
Go
it.
give me a Matt Pat award.
yeah, but that's just a theory.
A gay
Anyway,
theory.
follow us for more video game conspiracy theories.
But yeah, that's a game that has really excellent atmosphere. And I mean, another game that has good atmosphere, we were just talking about it before we started the episode. I think Skyrim has plenty of moments that are freaky as fuck.
Oh yeah, well I mean you have the there's God, I forget what it's called. I haven't played Skyrim in maybe like since 2 years since it came out. So like
I've definitely played it recently, so I can
Yeah.
tell you a couple that come to mind.
but the underground world, with the
Yes,
the
when you first get to the underground, which is where all the Falmer live.
and there's that one like
I think the first time you see one of those giant fuck off bugs.
oh man.
Those big disgusting freaking insects.
Honestly,
that
when
just-
I discovered
they just
that,
reave the shit out of you.
when I discovered that made the game for me. I was like, holy shit, this is basically an underground world inside the world of the real world. And I was just like,
the fact that it's massive,
It's so
entirely
big.
interconnected.
and there's a fake sun.
You could spend hours
I
hours
did.
exploring under there.
I remember
It's
after I
so
stopped
freaky.
playing intensely, I would just go back there to like run scenarios through the main castle
Oh yeah.
because it was just like,
And honestly, is there anything freakier than your first completely out of nowhere dragon encounter?
nope.
Because you're starting off that game, and by the end of the game, you're a fucking beast and you can kill dragons like nobody's
Yeah.
business. But before you get to that point, you are really working your way up that skill tree. You are leveling up, and you probably have shit equipment, you probably have shit armor, shit weapons. You're running around like an idiot, having no idea pretty much where to go or what to do. And out of fucking nowhere, you hear that roar coming kind of out of the side of your ear, and you're like, oh fuck. And you look around, and sure enough in the distance is this massive fucking dragon, and it's coming right for you because it has seen your ass, and it wants a fucking piece of you. And let me tell you, that shit scared the fuck out of me the first time I was playing. And the first time I played Skyrim was just a couple years ago. I got that game when it came out on the Switch in like 2017.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, that freaked me out in 2017, years after I knew what to expect, because the moment it creates is so tense. And that will always stick with me as just like a freaky ass moment in that game.
I really was
My first ever dragon encounter.
Yeah, I was a very big fan of the very rare but actual thing of the in-city dragon encounter, where you're just like, oh, I'll go to the bar and like talk to some people there to see if there's rumors or whatever, and then you just hear the roar inside the city, and you're like, wait, what? And then
Yeah,
the
that has
dragon
happened to
lands,
me
and you're like,
once.
oh Jesus, it's go time.
I think when I was in, the town that's very up towards the north.
Oh, the mage town there.
Is it Dawnstar?
I think
Yeah.
so.
No, it's the one that's the big town with the huge bay.
Oh,
And there's boats there.
Yeah, the Nord town.
The big. Well,
Yeah.
they're all Nord towns.
Well, no, but
the one that's like a big crescent shaped bay.
Yeah, but it's the headquarters of the.
No, not that one. That's not the Stormcloak's place.
No.
It's the other one. The one that's it's towards the north of Skyrim. It's right on the Sea of Ghosts.
Yeah,
it's that big crescent shaped bay
God,
there.
yeah,
it's like a natural harbor.
I don't remember.
But it's right where the old Brotherhood base is. The Brotherhood of Assassins.
Yeah.
It's where the old base is, the old one. But that you go to after you finish that quest line. But all over there is just this massive fuck off bay, and it's pretty open on either end. And I was in that town. I think I had just gotten there for the first time, and then out of fucking nowhere, a dragon came after me, and that was my in-town dragon encounter in Skyrim.
God.
And that shit was, I was lucky I was in a town that was a lot wider and easier to navigate and fight in.
My first time was
if I was in
Riften.
one of those, fuck that.
Yeah, it was rough.
Fuck that. Riften has like it's all platforms and shit over the water.
Yeah, it was wild.
So that shit is just a pain in the dick. Yeah, I couldn't do that. Oh, you know what's a freaky part in Skyrim? Actually, there's a lot of shit in Skyrim that's kind of fucked. Actually,
Murdering the
But-
orphanage lady.
I love doing
It's
that.
the
Actually, I had a
best.
lot
It's
of fun
my.
doing
Sometimes
that.
I don't even do the brotherhood thing. I just kill her anyway.
She's funny. She's a piece of
I
shit.
fucking hate her.
But
What a
I think
garbage video
the
game human.
The first time you do the Brotherhood questline, you go to that cabin and you see that somebody has performed the rite. You know, the dark what's it called? The Black Rite or something like that? The thing that you use to summon the assassins?
Oh god. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
You get in there, you see that, and you're like, "Oh fuck, what's going on?" And then you get knocked out,
Yeah.
and then what's her fuck is there, and she's just like,
Kill.
"Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Kill
I'm
someone.
gonna fucking kill you."
Kill
That freaked the fuck out of me. I was scared.
What is it?
Because I didn't know what to expect.
That's funny because how I got into the Dark Brotherhood was I killed someone who they had a hit on.
Yeah, that's what I did. You kill them. You kill the person that you have the hit on, but then they put you in that cabin. You wake up in the cabin.
Yeah.
No, I was misremembering what happened.
Yeah, because
You wake up.
the
you
Dark
wake
Rite
up in
thing
the
is
fucking
later in the
cabin.
quest line. Because what happens
Yeah.
is you wake up in the cabin and she's like, "Hey, what the fuck? You think you can just steal our fucking jobs, you sack of shit? Let's see if we've got
I'm
what
gonna
it
fucking
takes.
murder your
One of
ass."
these people is horrible, horrible person. Kill the right one." And you're like, fuck it. I just killed all three of them every time.
I thought she was gonna fucking kill me, honestly.
Yeah.
They put you in such a tense situation where like you have none of your armor and weapons equipped, and you're just like tied up, and you're like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, and she hands you a
does
dagger
this
and is
mean?
like, "Do it."
Another thing that freaked me out is when you first turn into the werewolf when you do the werewolf quest.
Yeah, that one's weird.
That's really weird because they kind of just throw you into it.
They throw this mechanic at your face.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, wait, what's going on? I freaked out so much when I first did that, I actually reset the game. Because I was like, oh shit, did I just like... I was wondering if the game had glitched out on me.
Did you ever do the vampire quest?
Out of nowhere.
Where you turn into a vampire?
No, because that's a glitchy ass quest.
It sucks!
It's
Before
so bad.
the vampire DLC,
I never actually bothered even doing it.
I did it by accident, and I was like, oh cool, I'm a vampire. And then everyone was just like, you fucking monster! Because I didn't know you had to drink blood. And you just turn into this feral looking
I don't
want to
have to be a vampire. It sucks.
Yeah, no.
If being a vampire in Skyrim sucks, I would never choose to be one. So I just never bothered with that quest line because I'm like, I don't want to do this shit.
You did good.
But that was there's a lot of moments in Skyrim that, once again, not necessarily a horror game, but I feel like the devs put an effort into kind of putting you into the mindset of something fucked up happening and you just kind of encountering it. Another one, another good example is going up to that mountaintop that's right near where the Stormcloaks are all there. And you go up to the top of the mountain and there's just like a group of people who are murdering and sacrificing somebody.
Oh,
you're just like,
the Forsworn?
Yeah, those fucks.
Yeah, the deer antler people.
And you're just like, yeah, no, that's on the other side of Skyrim. You're right. Yes, yeah, those are the ones that are close to the big where the old dwarf city was.
Yes. Oh man, that dwarf city is so cool.
When you first see the Forsworn and they're just like, we're just murdering a dude right here on this altar. What's good? And you're like, I
don't know about this.
Fuck.
Maybe ask. Oh, it's too late. Shit.
But that shit is really interesting.
And now they're going to eat me. Oh my god.
There's some freaky shit in Skyrim.
Yeah.
The devs just kind of throwing you into a situation unexpectedly, and you just kind of having to figure out, oh shit, is something wrong, and almost wanting to like reset the game. I like when a game does that because it challenges the player to push through. Another example of that, actually, and I guess this is as good a segue as any, is in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. There's a chapter in the game in which Mario's identity is stolen, and you lose like everything.
Oh god!
Like you lose all your you lose like all your party members, and you lose shit, and you're just kind of thrown into this scenario. And what happens is So this is chapter 4 of the game. It takes place in a place called Twilight Town, not related to the
Kingdom Hearts.
Twilight Town from Kingdom Hearts.
Unfortunately,
but
that would be
you're
sick.
in this really cool place called
Sorry
Twilight
for
Town, which is
Smash.
perpetually in this in this perpetually dim, like dark kind of looking old medieval hamlet, and everybody is depressed and it's freaky, and they say that there's a steeple called the Creepy Steeple that's haunted, and that there's a demon in the Creepy Steeple that's
I like that name for a steeple.
fucking the Creepy Steeple, and it's just freaking the people the fuck out. And you go and you do the quest line in the Creepy Steeple. You get there, you get the Crystal Star, which is the thing that you progress through. But then the chapter ends, and Mario leaves, but you are still there. Mario leaves, but the player is still in the Creepy Steeple.
Oh god.
Because the ghost that you just fought, Dupless, has stolen your fucking identity and all of your party members, and that's when the real chapter 4 begins. You have to fucking find a way to get your identity back from Dupless. And they take away basically everything you've worked towards at that point, all of your party members, and you team up with Vivian, who's the trans girl character, who's the little red witch ghost lady.
Yeah.
She's very cute. I love her. Trans goals, but big goals, but
Big goals.
You team up with her for the first time in that chapter, and she's honestly she's an okay party member. She has some helpful abilities, but without all the familiar abilities that you have from your previous party members, it takes a while to adjust to the new status quo that you've been thrown into for this chapter, where you basically have nothing, and you have to go back, and everybody thinks that Mario is gone and Mario saved everybody, and
He sacrificed
it's a little fucked up.
himself.
It's stressful and fucked up.
Yeah.
And it freaks me out. And I think the idea of having your identity stolen is something that maybe, particularly to me, I find very scary.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's all the more scary to me because of that. But that part always it freaked me out and stressed me out. And the first time it happened to me, I reset the game because I was so scared of having to progress past it. Because I was like, oh no, I can't do this. The stress is it's
too much.
Too much. But I ended up doing it. It's totally worth it and super fun. Mario the Thousand Year Door has a lot of good ghosty, spooky kind of areas in it, because there's the Creepy Steeple, and then I think it's the immediate next chapter of the game is like a ghost pirate adventure.
Nice.
Which is really fun too. And you fight this big skeleton pirate called Cortez. And he's got Cortez. And he's got
Cortez.
all these big swords. And shit, and he's got a hook on one hand, a scimitar, and an axe. He's really cool. But he's actually kind of a goofball, and he's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, amigo, sorry, I just thought you were here for my treasure. You want that little one? That's cool." You go to his treasure hoard, and he's just like, "You're not ever gonna touch any of my treasure." And you fight him, and you beat him, and he's just like, "Please don't take my treasure,
please."
And then you just tell him, "You just want that one thing there, the crystal star." And he's like, "Oh, just that? Why didn't you say so? You can have it. It's so small. Of all this treasure, you just want that one." But that's a pretty cool, ghosty, spooky level too. Though it's not as scary. It's more very Indiana Jonesy almost, very adventure focused. Whereas the Creepy Steeple stuff it's very
actually
gothic
spooky.
horror. Yeah, and they put you, like I said, in a stressful situation that you kind of wish you could turn back from, but can't in order to progress. And once again, just when games do that, it's freaky as shit.
Hella spooky. I think one that needs an honorable mention that is from an actual horror game, maybe one of the best horror game series in the world, and it's probably my favorite jump scare in any of the ones from the series, because I think it is still very effective. Every time I go back and play this game, this one jump scare pretty much still always gets me, even though I know it's coming. And it's the crows in Resident Evil 2 in the east hallway, I believe it is. Or it might be the west hallway. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's east, though. East upstairs hallway.
That shit fucks me
It's
up.
So effective because you're not expecting... At worst, you're expecting a dog or another zombie or whatever, right? And that, okay, whatever. But instead, 6 ravenous crows come rapping at the windows, and the windows are weak and shatter. and they let the crows in. The crows are very hard to shoot, even with the auto lock on. So you just kind of have to run
those
through the
fuckers are
fucking...
difficult to kill.
That hallway you just fucking run through. Like, if you don't want to waste your ammo, you just go and you deal with it. But it's effective every single time I played that game. That and the liquor in the interrogation room, which is also downstairs east wing, I believe. God.
A moment that always sticks with me from the first Resident Evil game, actually, I guess specifically the Resi remake, is the first time you encounter a Crimson Head. Because the game has fundamentally changed from the first.
Okay. The thing about the Crimson Heads too, though, is it's such a good, like, what was it called? Add-on, I guess, to the old one, because Crimson Head didn't exist in OG.
No, exactly. That's what I like about it.
Exactly.
Is that they fundamentally changed how you navigate the mansion
and how you deal with
now
zombies.
You have to navigate to avoid or deal with Crimson Heads.
It's
that shit is
genius,
scary.
and honestly, it's terrifying because it also unless you're using the lighter fluid every time. I mean, there's probably an optimal way to go about this. I've only played Resi Remake.
There's definitely
there
is a sequence you can do that perfectly allows you to burn all the Crimson Heads so that you don't have to encounter them.
Yeah, like that's a
burn
speed
all the
run.
zombies.
But it's
the first time you encounter one of those fuckers,
wow, they're scary.
Holy shit!
Like,
I mean, they're so fast.
I mean, I streamed it, and like I kept, I think, 2 of them alive because I was like, I'm not wasting my ammo here. I'm just gonna gun it. But there are a couple of times where it's like I get stuck on a corner or something, and it's just like, oh god, fuck. Okay, we did it. Whew.
It's so stressful.
It's honestly, because you can also hear the like footsteps just, and you're like, no, it's too close.
It's just like really, and when you first get to that secondary area of the mansion on the other end of the garden, the little what do you call that thing? Was it like the gardener's house or
in
something?
Resi Remake?
In Remake, yeah.
I don't remember, but yeah, that whole section is added for the Liza lore, I think it's called.
Yeah, and then when you first meet Liza.
Yeah, I believe that's her name.
Did that not freak did that not, or I guess Lisa, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
when you first meet her, does that not freak the fuck out of you?
Yeah, she's a horrifying addition. She's basically a
and
prototype
her
Mr.
boss fight
X.
is really difficult.
Yeah, she's basically, well, no, not when
I
you
thought
know.
her boss fight was really hard.
Well,
when you don't know what you're doing, I mean.
Because essentially the boss fight is just...
I'm doing this on the assumption that you're playing this shit for the first time.
Yeah.
That's when it's most
I had gotten a tip before that boss fight for my first time. I think Anthony was in the stream chat and was like, pay attention to the stones. And I was like, what? And I shot 2 shots and then went, oh, the stones. And you just kind of push the stones off and she just jumps to her death. Cause...
I think the part of the game that freaked me out the most, though, is that Crimson Head. First time you meet a Crimson Head. Because I was playing with my friend Alex, and he was hyping them up, and he's like, you gotta watch out for the Crimson Heads. You gotta burn. But to a certain point, I wasn't burning them in the sequence you need to do in order to effectively get rid of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to encounter one eventually. And it happened when I least expected it, because I was turning a fucking corner. And of course, turning a corner on tank controls is stressful already.
Mm-hmm.
And we're playing this in the complete dark on my CRTV laid out on my fucking floor, just hooked up to the GameCube. So we're both pretty drunk. And I meet a Crimson Head for the first time, and I practically shit myself. I was so scared. I jumped. I think I even screamed. I was like, ah! Like, it's such an effective scare. And another great GameCube Resident Evil scare is in the Resident Evil GameCube game that pretty much nobody likes, which is Resident Evil 0, which I actually personally do enjoy.
Horrible.
But I understand
Podcast
why it's
canceled.
flawed. It's flawed as fuck, that game, for sure. But I do really, really like aspects of it, and the train sequence in particular, the opening train sequence, when you have to stop the fucking train,
I don't remember
freaks
that
the shit
part.
out of me. Right at the beginning of Resident Evil 0, you're on a train.
Yeah, you're on
That's
a
the
train.
first.
I remember.
sequence of the
I
game.
remember
before you go to the Arclay facility.
I remember laughing at God, I don't remember his name, but he jumps through the train window, and me and Anthony at the same time were like, "Rebecca, don't jump through windows. It's not like in the movies."
You mean Billy?
Yeah, no, it's not Billy.
Yeah.
It's like your first teammate who's like just dies and is like, "Rebecca."
Oh, that stupid idiot. Yeah.
Or Tez? No, I have
Enrico.
who knows?
But yeah, anyway, he just fucking kills himself immediately.
Well, he jumps in through the window at you and is like, "Rebecca," and mumbles some shit. I don't remember because me and Anthony were like, "Don't jump through the windows. It's not like in the movies." And then laughed because we said it at the exact same time.
Perfect.
That was great.
But yeah, the first
That game,
sequence of the game,
however,
you're
is
on a train,
not.
and it's like I said, I enjoy it, but I recognize it's flawed, and I'm not gonna die on the hill defending it. But I liked my time with it for what it was, which is more than I can say for Resident Evil 6. So it's not such a bad.
I like Resident Evil 6 more than 0, and I will die on that hill.
Damn. Okay. I mean, that's an opinion.
I think
you might be the only person I've ever known who said I'm going to
game.
die on the hill that Resident Evil 6 anything. But yeah, there's the part of that at the beginning. You have to stop the runaway train once you're on it because it's just going fucking haywire, and you have to go all the way from the back of the train to the front and push the buttons in like a particular sequence and enter a code, but you have a timer. So you're on the fucking clock, and that's shit is scary as fuck.
That's very Resident Evil. It's weird that they put a timer that early in the game, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I guess we can end with a few more non-horror games that are scary. A few more non-horror scary games, because I feel like it's so easy to talk about Resi on an episode.
Yeah,
like
and
this.
we could go.
Because there's a lot of good scares, and
like,
even Amnesia,
we didn't
right?
Even
I mean,
bring
we
up
talked about
Silent
the
Hill.
other week about the water part. Silent Hill. It's like, of course, Silent Hill's scary.
Yes.
It's one of the scariest fucking series.
And of course, it's full of some of my favorite scares.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's almost too. It's like you could do a whole podcast on Silent Hill.
Exactly. And I mean, you know what? Maybe we should have a full podcast episode on horror games, like a bonus round. I mean, but as for some good individual scares, part that always, I guess, comes back to me because it's probably one of the earliest times I remember being scared in a video game. The first time I ever played Ocarina of Time. There is probably nothing fucking scarier than the first time you encounter a re-dead. Yeah, I'll give you that one. Yep.
when you're a little baba.
No, you know what? I played Ocarina of Time on the 3DS,
travel forward,
and it's still scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit in that game that's scary. The Shadow Temple, not scary. Bottom of the Well, scary. Bottom of the Well is fucked. The Shadow Temple to me is goofy as fuck and so stupid, and it's like, me and Alex describe it as like the Boogaboo dungeon, because it's full of like boogada type like stupid
Pumpkin
silly
Hill.
Halloween scares. It is Pumpkin Hill scary, exactly. Like, the thing that I always think of is like the spinning rotary sides with the two Grim Reapers holding them.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of that Banksy fucking amusement park that he made with like just the Grim Reaper spinning around and around and around. And like the fucking...
Can't believe you brought up Banksy on this podcast.
Because Banksy to me is like the most cringe thing ever.
I know.
It strikes me as super funny when I go
what
back
if we
to work every day. I'm just
gentrified
like,
street art?
I can't believe I'm in Dismaland. What's going on? It's so funny.
He just watched
Bongo
Itchy and
Bongo's a
Scratchy
little
World.
fucking weird.
He watched the Itchy and Scratchy World Simpsons episode and said, "I'll do that."
It's so stupid. The fucking spinning sides. Oh my god. It's like I said, it's such like a stupid, goofy Halloween aesthetic, as opposed to like something genuinely terrifying, which is what I feel the bottom of the well is.
It's Pumpkin Hill versus the evil Chow Garden.
Yeah, basically. Or it reminds me a lot of
God, I should just I think I'm gonna play
like a Scooby Doo
2.
something.
What?
It reminds me of like a Scooby Doo type aesthetic,
yeah.
It's like Boogaboo the Skeleton Man.
Well, that's it.
Like,
I think I'm gonna replay Sonic Adventure 2 just to get Pumpkin Hill unlocked, and then I'll do a full stream episode where we just S rank all the Pumpkin Hill challenges.
I mean, that Pumpkin Hill theme. The ghost pumpkin soup is so
It's
good.
really that he didn't do much after that, but he wrote that song and it was good. We should use that as the intro for this month. Just like the do like the first few notes.
I think we could. Well, I'll think of a spooky thing to put at the end of this. Maybe as our ending theme.
Yeah. No.
Because I don't know. I've been sticking new ending themes at the end of or new things at the endings of each of the episodes. If you listen,
spooky things this month. Joke. One of them will just be a jump
put
scare.
Some boogaboos at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll put a re-dead scream just to wake somebody the fuck up.
You should put the Hitchcock parrot.
Yeah. That'd be good. Oh god. The one that always fucks me up though in Ocarina of Time really is the bottom of the well, because it's another part of the game that like that part is that part of the game, like the latter half of Ocarina of Time, is drenched in kind of this dire atmosphere.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of dungeons towards the end of the game that are full of weird spooky shit. Like, I mean, the forest temple has got ghosts in it.
No!
And, I mean, Phantom Ganon is spooky if you have no idea what you're doing.
Which I did not.
Yeah, and that is, that's a pretty cool spooky boss fight. But, and it's, very gothic horror, like a ghost coming out of a painting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool idea. But, the bottom of the well, in particular, because it's such, like, a small dungeon, maybe it sticks out as persistently freaky because of that weird thing that's in it that you fight, the thing with all the hands and the mouth.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of likes and
it can come down and grab you
and Gibdos. That thing is really gross.
It's not great.
It looks like an evil prolapsed anus with many hands. Like it's disgusting looking.
It should be ashamed.
When you
honestly.
first fight it, it's nasty. It's gross. It's scary in a gross way,
Yeah. Body horror.
That place is like a fucking sewer. It's somebody's fucking toilet down there.
When are we gonna let Junji Ito make a video
with a gross
game?
evil thing chasing you? But that's a freaky part. You were about to say something?
Oh yeah. Well, I did. I guess I cut out. I was gonna say, when are we gonna let Junji Ito make a video game?
Hey, he was supposed to.
Yeah.
Remember?
Thanks, Konami.
He was supposed to do monster designs for PT.
Thanks, Konami.
Thanks,
Konami.
Sorry, no food for you. You starve forever now.
We got him working on.
They should have just
Pachinko
not announced
machine.
it until they had a workable fucking game.
They did have a workable game. PT was amazing, and then they said, "Fuck you, Kojima, you crazy."
More than PT.
But you know what?
Man,
with how this year went, maybe it's good that Kojima did make Death Stranding instead of PT, because Death Stranding came real. But what if you made PT? What if PT came real? 2020 would be even more fucked.
PT is a pretty scary little thing, isn't it?
It is. Do you like your silly little video games?
That would have been one of the most effective horror games of all time if they had been allowed to make it. And the crew working on it genuinely knew what good horror was. You got fucking Del Toro, and then you've got Ito, and then you have Kojima steering the ship.
Yeah.
Like, I think that maybe would have been one of the best survival.
And you have
horror
Norman
games of all time
Reedus with the scariest facial hair in Hollywood.
The patchiest facial hair in Hollywood. Yeah. That would have been really, really cool. It's a fucking shame, honestly, that it never happened. But everybody can say that about PT.
Yeah, I think PT will be a talked about thing for years to come, especially around October.
Hell yeah. And then, of course, I guess another honorable mention for a spooky part in a game that's not necessarily very spooky on its own. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, yes. In Final Fantasy IV, my favorite game of all time. How could I forget? There's a sequence in Final Fantasy IV. It's towards the beginning of the game. And it's another one of these sequences, kind of like in Mario, where all your party members have been lost.
Yeah.
And Cecil washes up on the shores of the town that he has just genocided, like at the beginning of the game.
What?
The town whose genocide prompted him to, like, question his service and in that get himself demoted.
Town genocide.
And set himself out on this.
In my JRPG?
Well, it's like all the race of mages live there.
Yeah.
and you go there and you just fucking kill a bunch of them and steal their shit. Basically, you do a colonialism, and it's very bad.
Oh.
But yeah, it's like it's the inciting incident that basically sets Cecil off on his journey in that game. And you go back there, and you're talking to everybody there, and they're like, oh, we remember you. Don't worry. We'll never forget you. You killed our families and friends.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know what this is, yeah.
In order to, like, make up the damage that you've done, or at least, show that you are willing to make amends, you're asked to go to this place called Mount Ordeals. And Mount Ordeals is, up to that point in the game, probably the most difficult dungeon, because it's really hard, and your party members that you take with you are severely underleveled. So already there's this air of stress, and the air of guilt, I think, surrounding this whole scenario too, of like, wow, of all the places I could wash up, I really had to wash up in the town where I just fucking raised them, like,
Mm-hmm.
not even a couple of hours ago gameplay wise.
And they didn't murder me.
So you go to Mount Ordeals and you get to the top, and out of nowhere, this fiend appears. And this fiend is called Scarmiglione. And Scarmiglione is this hooded figure who you fight with your, might I add again, severely underleveled mage party members. And Scarmiglione is an earth demon. He summons a bunch of undead zombies and shit to come and fight against you. And you're fighting him and you're like, okay, Scarmiglione, he's scary. And it's intimidating that you're fighting about 8 enemies at once. It's probably about the most enemies you've fought up to that point in a single boss battle in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you remember, oh, I can use cure spells and I can use fire spells on Scarmiglione because he's an earth elemental and he'll take damage because he's an undead elemental from cure magic.
Yeah.
So you take care of him pretty quickly. And then you cross the bridge to go to the final point of your destination, which is like the shrine for the paladin. But midway through the bridge, Scarmiglione comes fucking back, and you're thrown into another battle with all of the health that you have lost, still lost. And it is not easy like the other fight. He's stronger than ever because now he is dead, so he is among the undead perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And he fucks you up, and he poisons your entire party, your weak, underleveled, damaged party. And for a point early on in the game that you are not prepared for, it is stressful, it is scary, and it's cool. It's cool to see the game kind of pull one over on you like that. The fact that it's also a back attack, and that you have to fight him where he has like the upper hand on the party, too, is like 2 times as scary.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're playing the DS version of the game, it's just harder because every enemy in that game is harder.
Why would they do that?
Oh, the DS version of Final Fantasy IV, when we talk about it on Touch Generation, you'll hear what I mean, but that game was literally fundamentally a different game from the original Final Fantasy IV.
That's fun when they do that.
Mainly because of how difficult it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The original Final Fantasy IV, it's not a cakewalk, but it's not the hardest RPG in the world. Final Fantasy IV on the DS is legitimately difficult. Like, very difficult. Not SMT levels of difficult, but nearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a hard game, and it doesn't pull any fucking punches. Everything in the game is stronger than you, and you always feel a little underleveled. No matter how much grinding you do, you're inevitably going to feel a little underleveled. So, I think that the whole lead up to that moment of getting to the top of that mountain, beating the guy, and thinking, okay, I'm finally going to get to my destination, and then, no, actually he's back, and he's actually going to fucking kill you even harder now, and you're still weak and underleveled. That shit is scary.
Fair enough.
Freaks the fuck out of you and catches you, like I said, entirely off guard.
Yeah.
And I like when a game can do that, because those are some of the best scares in them all, because you're really not expecting them. You know, you're not especially a Final Fantasy game, because not that the games are not known for subverting your expectations, but I think that's maybe one of the best early times in which that's done. Because it's not so much a narrative expectation that is being subverted as it is like a gameplay kind of expectation that you're like, I just beat a boss. You expect that the game is not going to throw another boss at you immediately, especially because it's not the end game.
Yeah.
You know, this is not even close to the end game because this game is long as fuck.
We love a
But
long
the fact
game.
that they do that, I respect them for it, and it made that whole moment memorable to me. A good scare makes a moment memorable. A good scare, good atmosphere like that can make any moment in any game memorable.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why we talked
that's
about
the
Arkham Asylum for like 40 minutes last time.
Yeah, exactly. The last bonus round, we talked about how Arkham Asylum has so many memorable moments, and those scarecrow sequences,
Yep.
Those are freaky as shit.
They are.
And they're hard. They're hard. You don't really know what to expect at the beginning, because the game
Oh, yeah, first time through, yeah. But like,
shifts
once
how
you
you're
figure it
playing
out,
it.
you're just kind of like, oh, okay.
But that is
Until he starts
that
throwing
is another game
skeletons
just
at you.
drenched with extremely memorable atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I guess that's quite a bit for a bonus round, so I'd say we're pretty good. But thank you guys for listening, and I guess you can hit me up on Twitter at Nouveau Art Punk. I am also on Instagram at Nouveau Art Punk, and don't really need to follow me anywhere else. I have a letterboxd page, Nouveau Art Punk, as well, if you want to read what I write about movies. I just watched Resident Evil Vendetta, which I'll talk about on the next podcast.
God.
It's really funny.
I'm
funny.
so excited.
Yeah,
I watched many things
to
too.
hell and
Oh,
back about
jeez, I
that.
hit my mic. Sorry about that.
Resident Evil Vendetta was my first quote unquote horror movie of the month.
Oh,
So
boy.
we're gonna have plenty to talk about. But I'm planning on marathoning Del Toro's filmography.
I guess my
too.
technical first horror movie of the month was Alien 3.
Yeah, more like horrible movie.
More like, oh no. Also, this morning before work, while my lovely woman was at work and I was getting ready for work, I watched I See You. And
oh yeah, the stupid mask movie.
yeah, boy, is that movie!
Oh my god,
that movie's a trip.
piece of fucking rank garbage is what it is. It's so
you know
funny.
what? I would almost recommend it on level of enjoyment of how bad it is.
Oh yeah, it's good schlock.
And honestly, have you seen it?
I have.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I'm guilty of watching the ICU film.
I think the score actually carries the fuck out of that movie because it's funny because
It is a good
sometimes
score,
you feel
actually.
like you're watching a comedy, but someone.
But yeah, the
fucked
sound design is like a fucking weird horror movie sound design.
Yeah, it's so funny. I can't wait to talk about it.
It's a schlocky, enjoyable piece of crap.
I don't think I've laughed so hard 5 minutes into the movie. But we'll talk about that next week.
That's pretty much what I have to say about Vendetta too. So we'll have a lot in common to talk about our movie
Vendetta's
experiences.
a fucking pice of shit.
What
God,
a
did you see that
goofy
Monster
ass
Hunter
movie.
trailer? Oh, we're hitting the news. Jesus, we gotta go.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about all this next episode, but we have rest assured there's plenty to discuss. So yeah, you can follow me on Letterboxd, read my funny review of Resident Evil Vendetta, aka Shit Happens the movie, just hit me up on there. Follow GamePunx on all our social media. Where can people find you, Ben?
I'm Scratch Me Silly everywhere. If you follow me on Twitter, you can watch me shitpost and be upset about Steve. If you follow my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/scratchmesilly, you can watch me play spooky games all the month of October and probably a little bit longer because I don't think I'm going to beat them all before October's over. I'm doing Devil May Cry Tuesdays, which isn't really a spooky game, but I'm fighting demons and the demons can be kind of scary sometimes. So I'm using that as an excuse to play one of my favorite series. Then Wednesdays, I will be doing Alien Isolation, and then Fridays, I will be continuing Resident Evil 7 until I beat those, and then I will move on to the next product.
So, that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you very much for listening, and hope you guys have a good spooky season. And next week, we're back to the regular news, and we're back to talking about all the fun spooks and haunts that we've experienced so far in our very early GamePunx October Spooktacular.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And remember, I hope your pumpkin spices are hot, and your houses are not too haunted, but just haunted enough that it's fun.
And that you're wearing your goddamn masks.
Oh yeah, wear your
Holy
masks, you
fucking
fucks.
The holy fucking anti-maskers are pissing me the fuck off. We just had to go into lockdown again because of them. Anyway, thank you very much. Remember to social distance and have yourselves a nice spooky Halloween.
And wash your dirty hands.